College hoops, coast to coast. We're back with my man Sweeney. Looking forward to another head coach interview today. Mr. Sweeney just tweeted about him here recently, so I'll let him take the way and introduce our new guest.
Yeah, Steve Lutz, a longtime assistant at Creighton and Purdue, gets an opportunity in Texas at A&M Corpus Christi. Obviously, Willis Wilson, tremendous coach, a tremendous leader, and it was time for everyone to kind of move on. And Coach Lutz has taken over there and done an outstanding job. They're 10-2 to start the year. They won 5 games all of last year. Only 2 Division I wins all of last year. Obviously, COVID, tough year, but this thing has turned around very quickly, and Coach Lutz obviously a big part of that. And so we had to get him on to talk about how they've been able to have such success early on. So he's doing a great job.
Yep, absolutely. Long time friend, growing up in the Texas grassroots and then going up in the Texas assistant ranks. Coach Lutz has done a tremendous job everywhere he's been. No surprise what he's doing. So excited to have him on. Coach, what up?
What's up, fellas?
Good to have you, man. Good to have you. So 10-2. I don't know if you saw the tweet that he just did about you, but he had a tweet probably not that you're supposed to follow all this stuff because you're coaching a basketball team, right? But he just had one just the other day. I'll let Kevin lead the way and talk about what he tweeted about.
Yeah, pretty standard. You start 10-2 in your first year as a head coach. I think you're doing something right. So congrats on the great start. And tell us what has been this first month and a half like. What's it been like getting settled and finding groove with this first year team?
Oh, it's been fun. I mean, that's the thing I would tell you first and foremost is when you get a head coaching job that you've waited for whatever 20, 25 years, you got to enjoy it. And I've enjoyed every moment of it. I was blessed because Coach Wilson, the coach who had been here prior to me, he retired and he left me good kids. Those that stayed are awesome people. They work pretty hard. They've been leaders for us. They've done everything correctly. So I walked into a good situation in that regard. The only downside of it was I didn't have very many players. I only kept three guys returned. So we inherited very little, but those 3 have been fabulous. So they've really, really helped me. And then once the season started, you just focus on the season and, you put away all the other distractions other than when maybe you're doing some media stuff and you just concentrate on your guys and trying to help your guys be the best team that they can. And my staff and I have worked extremely hard at doing that. And thus far it's worked for us. So knock on wood, we'll keep winning.
I love it. Again, 10-2 start, beat Lamar on Saturday. The only 2 losses in, money games against A&M and Minnesota to high major teams, 2 very talented teams. But you guys have had obviously a tremendous start and get one more opportunity against a big time program in Notre Dame.
Yeah. I mean, we've got our hands full tomorrow night here in South Bend. There's no questions.
Absolutely. So your defense, you guys are forcing more turnovers on a rate basis per KenPom than anybody in the country. When you got the job, was that, this is what we're going to do to have success? Or was that, I got the players here and I think we're going to be able to press and wreak some havoc. How did that come about?
Yeah, and Kev, to be very honest with you, we don't press. We've not pressed a single possession yet. My philosophy growing up in the business is I started at the bottom. So we were NAI when I started, and then I went to Division II and then junior college and then low major, mid major, high major. So I started with a person named Danny Casper, who is a very, very sound defensive coach. But then everybody I've been with along the way, I've picked up different things that I liked. But I've never lost sight of the fact that defense has got a chance. Defense has a chance to win you the championship because, we've not shot the ball very well yet. And I think that we have the capability to be a good 3-point shooting team, but we've not done it yet. So we've won the games that we've won just by being able to create extra opportunities and extra possessions through our defense. You get a team and you have an idea of how you want to play. Sometimes you have the athleticism to do so, and sometimes you don't. We're kind of in the middle. But the guys have really bought in. we've won a couple games early and gained a little bit of confidence, which then helps, it helps breed what's your message. It helps just solidify your message, and those guys believe in what you're saying. And, they bought in thus far wholeheartedly. I mean, we forced, I want to say 25 turnovers or 28 turnovers at Minnesota the other day, and they're top 10 in the country in not turning the ball over. So I've been super proud of their effort and their ability to buy into what we're trying to instill in the program and what we're trying to do. But again, I give it all back to those guys because, we've got 15 new faces, that didn't know one another, had never played with one another. And, they've turned into a heck of a basketball team.
I would say two-part question, Coach. You talked about coming up through the ranks, NAI, D2, climbing your way through. How much of that has helped you now as a head coach? And then secondly, recruiting-wise, bringing all these guys together, transfer portal, JUCO, you've recruited guys from everywhere. How was putting together this roster, and is it almost better that you got to start with majority your own team or versus inheriting most of the guys?
Boy, that second question is really tough, but I'll try and do the best I can. The first question, I think, and I like to have people around me and on our staff that have very similar backgrounds and paths to where you're at that I did. And what I mean by that is, like this morning at breakfast, we're in a conference room. People are busy eating, people are busy, whatever. I wasn't hungry. So you walk over to the front desk and you grab a trash, you ask the lady for a trash bag and you just start picking up stuff and getting the trash knocked out. But like, if you don't start at the bottom,
right,
and you've played high major, then you coached high major, very seldom do you understand putting the team ahead of yourself, or maybe that's a bad way to say it. Very seldom do you understand that I need to go take care of that trash so that someone else can eat their breakfast, right? And when you start at the bottom, if you don't have a servant attitude, you're going to be in trouble because
real fast.
You are at the very, very bottom, and there is no manager to go wipe the floor or wash the clothes. I mean, that's your job, and that's where I started, and I've never lost that. I've always been a big believer in, even when we get off that charter plane at a Power 5 institution, helping unload the bags and the staff and the players. It's everyone's job. We're all part of the same family. So that served me well in my life and obviously moving forward now being a head coach. But to answer your second question, man, I'd love to have walked into a team pick to win the league. I'd be lying if I said that was untrue. But to be very honest with you, the team or the group of guys that we have, I mean, it worked out well for our staff because we were able to start from the bottom. I was able to make mistakes along the way, and they were able to make mistakes along the way, and nobody passed judgment on one another. And, maybe I guarded something a certain way at the beginning, or we did something a certain way offensively and we had to change because it didn't work, or I didn't teach it well, or it wasn't the best way. So it's an evolving process with our team. And I definitely don't have all the answers. So it's worked out well. It really has.
And I'll ask one more before I let Kevin jump back in. Talk about a little bit of your staff. You have some guys with some Texas roots, with some junior college roots, guys that have been head coaches. How did you come about you making your staff? You kind of talked a little bit about wanting to have similar paths, but talk a little bit about your staff, if you don't mind. Not many head coaches that come on continue to bring up their staff, so we want to go ahead and give those guys some flowers.
Yeah, I mean, they're great. And all those guys, I think, will be head coaches or obviously Cole Dewey and Ralph Davis both were head coaches. But I think they're destined to be Division I head coaches. I think when you get a job, you have to make sure that you understand where you got your job at. And what I mean by that is the Southland Conference, by and large, has been a conference of transfers, and whether they be junior college transfers or four-year transfers. And you have to embrace that. Like, it doesn't make sense in this day and age to have come into the job and signed 12 high school guys. It just doesn't. So what we did is we had a little bit of a mixture of high school, which we got 2 players from that avenue. And then we got a bunch of junior college guys, and then we took a couple from the transfer portal. So it's just a mixed bag. And back to answer the question about the staff, if I'm going to recruit a lot of junior college players, it only makes sense that I have people on my staff that either have coached junior college, played junior college, or have really, really recruited junior college. And all three of my assistants, Jim Shaw, Ralph Davis, and Cole Dewey, they all have those criteria next to their name. They've all been in the mix in junior college levels, or in junior college recruiting at different levels. So, I just thought it made sense for what we were trying to accomplish.
Yep, for sure. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Talk about some of the guys you've brought in and highlight a couple for us who've really stood out and really been key to this outstanding start for you guys.
Boy, I have a hard time with that one, Kevin, just because we have so many guys that are averaging 7 points to 14 points. And I think that our team is made up of 6, 7, 8, 9 starters. But, just if you look at the numbers, Isaac Mushilla from Western Texas Junior College, he's been Southland Conference Player of the Week a couple times. He's fallen off in terms of his numbers a little bit the last couple games, but he was almost averaging a double-double. Trey Tennyson, came from Ranger Junior College. And Trey's getting, 14 points a game and he's making a couple threes every game. But then you have, Simeon Fryer, DeLazarus Keys, Miles Smith, and those guys have been in the Southland Conference. Miles, this is his 5th year, and the other 2 guys, this is their 2nd year. Those guys' experience has been invaluable for us. I mean, Sim's shooting in the mid to high 40s from the 3, which is tremendous from him. Miles, his numbers have been down, but man, defensively, he covers up so many mistakes for us because he's just so experienced and in the right place at the right time. And then Laz Keys has kind of anchored us in the post. But, I could go on and on about Tyrese Nicholson. So I have a hard time with that kind of stuff. I've been absolutely overjoyed, though, with our point guard play. We have Jalen Jackson and Terrion Murdix. Jalen came from North Texas, and Terrion came from Mineral Area Junior College. So those guys have been able to apply full court pressure to the opposing team for 94 feet for 40 minutes. And that has been the catalyst to get our defense going.
Awesome. I love it. Tell me about, the transition to being a head coach. Is there one thing in particular you can think of, whether it's an on-court thing, an off-court thing, a family thing, anything that you did not expect that has been more challenging, and how have you addressed it?
Yeah, the biggest thing is your time. People coming into your office and now they're asking you for the answer, right? And it's not just your staff. It's not the academic guy. It's the strength coach. It's the marketing people. It's the GAs, And so whereas I'm used to being able to kind of get in my own little vacuum and shut my door and watch game tape all day and then come up with a game plan, it's not like that anymore. Like sometimes I stay at home and hide and work from home just because that way I can turn my phone off and I can knock out stuff before I walk into the office and somebody wants to talk to you about fundraising or about, where do you want to practice? When do you want to practice? So that's been the biggest thing that I've had to overcome because I'm kind of a pleaser. I want to visit with people and I don't ever want to be unapproachable. So I always have my door open. And sometimes you can't do that.
Coach, enjoying being able to talk this through with you. It's been cool to watch your journey. So I came in the business. I think you were at that time, Stephen F. Austin, if I'm not mistaken. And
yeah, absolutely.
Working for Jim Sagona, I think, and you had recruited Von Rosenberg, who's now the head coach at Commerce. And you've been great to me along the way ever since. I don't always know why, but look, fortunately for me, you were. But I'm curious, what advice do you have? Because a lot of people probably may have thought Steve Lutz deserves a job sooner. And there's a lot of guys that deserve a job. But now you have the job that you would really want because it's close. It's back in Texas. It's a great job. They support basketball. What advice would you give along the way in your journey to coaches that are aspiring to be a head coach like yourself?
Well, you answered the question for me already because, I'm just a big believer in always treating people the right way, no matter if you're at Stephen F. Austin or you're at Purdue or Creighton or A&M Corpus. And, the relationship that we started in the early 2000s, obviously is still moving forward to this day. So, if you treat people the right way from the low major ranks or the D2 ranks all the way up to the high major ranks, people are going to remember that. And when you do get to your chance, people are going to try and help you. And when you get your head coaching job, people are going to have to help you in recruiting. They just are. And so if you don't have those 5, 10, 20-year relationships, man, you're behind the 8 ball already. So, that's what I'd tell you first and foremost. But to kind of go to the second part of your question, do the best job that you can where you're at. And I know that sounds like BS, man. I know it does. But if you don't win, you're not going to get an opportunity to be a head coach. And if you can't help your head coach win, neither one of you, you're probably both going to get fired anyway. So if you don't have the pedigree, you didn't play at Duke, you didn't play in the NBA, whatever it is, you have to prove yourself every single day. And then when you get your job, you got to prove yourself again every single day. But just learn the most you can from every coach, develop your ideas, but win. You have to win where you're at, and you have to help your head coach win where you're at. Otherwise, none of us are going to get to where we want to go.
Right. Well said. Well said.
Absolutely. B, you want to get them out with a funny story? I know this is how we do it here.
So second to last question.
Okay.
We'll do one more before that. Funny story is coming, so be prepared.
Okay.
Be thinking of it. I guess I would ask one almost like around this whole two-part. So realignment is this big thing. The Southland Conference has some teams have left, which has kind of opened the door for a program like Corpus. There's new teams coming in, new teams leaving out again. So if you can touch a little bit on that. And then your time at Purdue, you guys had some special runs. I can think of one Texas guy in particular. You've done such a good job in Texas recruiting wherever you've been. Carson Edwards is one I can think of because I think we were actually the first ones to offer him at Lamar. Had no chance to get him, but felt great about it for at least a couple of days. I guess just talk about your ability to evaluate and kind of see guys, because Carson Edwards was not somebody who anybody thought was going to go to the NBA, let alone play high major at the time when you guys really were on him. I'm curious a little bit about two-part about the realignment and then about just recruiting and your ability to evaluate over your time as an assistant.
Well, I'm going to kind of deflect the realignment one because, like I said, when you're an assistant coach, I believe the same is when you're the head coach. You have to concentrate on helping your team win now and focusing on that. So the realignment, like if they come and they go, I don't have any bearing over that. I don't have an influence one way or another. So I still have to play whoever's in the Southland Conference.
Right.
I don't like all the coming and going within college athletics, but nobody asked my opinion. So what the heck am I going to do? Right. So it's like, I even tell my athletic director, I go, hey man, let's concentrate on winning the league this year and winning the tournament. And let's go to the NCAA tournament. We'll figure the rest out later. Because if we go to the WAC or Conference USA or those schools come to the Southland, I still got to go play them next year, home and home. So it is what it is. Let's figure out a way to win now, and then we'll figure out a way to beat them if they're in our league. If we can do if we can do
right.
Then like just the recruiting process and that. First of all, I'll tell you this: I only got to coach Carson 2 years, but I didn't recruit him. A guy by the name of Jack Owens recruited him. Jack's the head coach at Miami of Ohio, and a lot of people passed on Carson in the state of Texas. And that's not to say they weren't right in doing so for whatever reason within their program. But I guess back to the recruiting, there's so many times I sit in the stands and I watch guys on their phones. I watch guys over in the corner screwing around, not paying attention to the game. And it frustrates the heck out of me. And I don't like, people sometimes think that maybe I'm standoffish, but when I'm at the gym, I'm watching the game. Now at halftime, I'm cool, man. Let's talk. We can go get dinner. We can go have a beer after the game, whatever. But when you're at the gym, do your job. And that's where you do your job evaluating. You're evaluating the kid. Does he talk back to his coach? Does he put his head down when he gets yelled at? And those things matter. And if you don't do that, man, I just don't see how success comes your way. So I just think that you've got to do your job and recruit the best players for your head coach, because all head coaches are different. And Carson Edwards, man, he was a heck of a player for us at Purdue now. Special. Yeah. And with that being said, there was days where Carson didn't like me and I didn't like him, but that's just part of it. You get into competition and emotions run high, but then when the game is over, practice is over, you still love one another and you still hug one another, but you have to learn to deal with different types of people. And I was different for Carson, and he was different for me. So I had to learn to adjust to him, and he had to learn to adjust to me. And at the end of the day, he knew that I was for him, and I knew that he was for me. So, it was all good. But just do the best you can and work your tail off and do your job. And I think that good things happen to good people if you do all that.
Yeah, for sure. I got another one for my funny question. So obviously I've come up in this thing with you, and I've seen you. I just can think of a ton of guys, whether it's Chris Beard, Grant McCaslin, Greg Young, Brett Tanner, Joe Golding, yourself. You guys all kind of came up at the same time. How cool is it to be able to be sitting in a head coach, and your guys that you came up with in this business are also sitting in head coaching seats? What is that like?
Man, it's special. It really is. And, the thing I would tell you, too, is like when you're the assistant coach and Grant gets a job or Beard gets a job, don't be envious of those guys. Don't hate. Like, be happy for them.
Right.
Your time's going to come as long as you do your job. But for now, I still call, Chris and I, Beard and I still talk. And he called me the other day. They want to pay us money to come up there on night. He was like, hey, man, our game got canceled with Rice. Do you guys want to come up? And I'm like, no, we're at Notre Dame. He goes, well, if Notre Dame cancels on you, come to us. I'm like, absolutely. But, yeah, no, it's great. It's great. And it's good to see good people succeed. I'm all about good people succeeding.
Yep. Awesome. All right. The finale, Coach, your funny question you got for funny story that you have for us, something in your coaching career along the way, or something in your head coaching career, even whatever you want to share with us that can give us a little entertainment and laughter before we go.
Well, as a head coach, man, I'm the worst about calling Kevin Brian and Brian Kevin, whether you're white, black, yellow. Like my head is thinking three different things, and I'm calling you the wrong name. And currently we have Jasmine, and then we have DeLazarus Keys, so they call them Jazz and Laz. So you know how many times I screw that up in practice, and those guys look at me like, Coach, that's not my name, and I just say, I'm sorry, guys. So that's an easy one, but probably the funniest story is I'm at Garden City JUCO, and there's something called the Jayhawk Shootout. So you go to Coffeyville, Kansas, and everybody plays one another. Well, we're supposed to stay at the Budget Inn. Well, we get to the Budget Inn, and I book the thing through a place called Corporate Sports Travel, and they find the rooms for you and they get it all done. Well, I give them my credit card, but I don't have any money. My credit card's maxed out, so I guess they ran my credit card. And I didn't have enough on it. So long story short, we get to the hotel and we don't have rooms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we don't have rooms because my credit card didn't work. And so they didn't tell me this. The company didn't. And I didn't call to confirm, which was a huge mistake. So we get there, there's no rooms. So obviously I'm scrambling to try to find hotel rooms for 12, 14 rooms in the middle of rural Kansas for our game that's tomorrow. And this is probably 6:00 at night on a Friday night. Yeah. You feel about that small, and your head coach, he's trying to be a good dude, but he wants to choke you out. What I mean? There's nowhere you can't. It's like being the head coach now. There's nowhere to hide, man.
Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
Now, with all that being said, we got a hotel in Parsons, Kansas, about 30 miles away. It all worked out. We actually won the Jayhawk Shootout.
There you go. Hey, that's the best part of the story.
Boy, you talk about being nervous now. I thought I was going to get fired for that one.
I love it. Well, glad you didn't get fired, Coach, and glad you are the new head coach at A&M Corpus Christi. Love to have you back in Texas. Congratulations on the awesome start, and best of luck the rest of the way. Thanks for taking the time, Coach.
Man, anytime. I appreciate you guys and everything you're doing.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. See you, fellas.
All right. Another awesome interview. I'll let Kevin do what he does to close this out.
Yeah, I mean, he's an impressive guy. Again, the success is big time, and like you said, it's crazy to think about all the guys in Texas who are winning games right now, and it's him, and it's Grant McCaslin, and it's Chris Beard, and it's Brett Tanner, and it's Joe Golding. Like they're rising through it together. It's pretty cool. And Mark Adams, who worked for Beard, obviously. I mean, the list goes on and on. So it's cool, man. It's great. I think they're going to be a factor in the Southland. I think Nichols is certainly impressive. Austin Claunch, I got to know him, and the job he does is tremendous. They nearly beat Wisconsin the other day. They have Oregon State. I think they're going to win that game coming up this week. But again, like he said, they forced 28 turnovers. I checked because I couldn't believe it when he said that. They forced 28 turnovers against Minnesota, whose whole thing this year is we take care of the ball. It's like their only thing they're actually that good at. And turn them over 28 times. So they've got a special group that's playing really hard for them, and so we're certainly looking forward to seeing their success moving forward, and hopefully having Coach Lutz on again once they win the league.
Yeah, no, it's been cool to see a lot of guys that I've come up in this business with, that I was a young guy and they were a little bit older, and those guys take you under their wing. And it's just cool to see them having success. I had no doubts. I didn't know it would be this fast, that they would be 10-2 preseason. I thought they would definitely do well in the conference, but to be able to have this kind of record early in his going is an indication of what's to come. So looking forward to more. We thank Coach for joining us, and you know where to find us. All Access YouTube, Spotify, Apple. We'll be back with more coming soon.